Hello, and thank you for joining us on Power Wheel, the weekly public enlightenment program by the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, on the electricity supply sector and efforts to get power right. I am Sheung Olagunju. You're welcome. The Permanent Secretary, Power, Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, Mr. Louis Edozien, has applauded the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, for striving to remain ahead of the power generation curve, noting that TCN has embarked on nationwide network expansion projects to ensure that electricity generated by the GENCOs is duly transmitted for onward distribution to customers. The Permanent Secretary, who represented the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, gave the indication when he chaired the 17th edition of the Power Sector Stakeholders Meeting hosted by the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, AEDC, in Abuja. Mr. Edozien urged the power sector operators to always make the interest of their customers paramount, in line with the dictum, "Customer is king," saying it was one of the reasons the monthly meeting was instituted by the minister.
We have focused at each meeting on customer service and customer service centers to ensure that all Nigerians understand the first port of call in addressing their service quality concerns is the help desks and the customer service centers of the distribution companies, not Mrs. Sapke's mobile phone or the minister's mobile phone or my mobile phone. The first port of call is the customer service centers of the discos. The next port of call is the customer service centers that NERC is putting in place. We must all emphasize to Nigerians that this is the current configuration of customer service in the industry.
The Permanent Secretary said payments of the 701 billion naira to generating companies, GENCOs, for January was complete, while February was in progress to ensure the GENCOs improved on power generation.
The policy directive issued by the minister with regard to eligible customers, which is aimed at ensuring that customers who wish to have premium service and are prepared to pay for it are given a window to contract for the energy they require and desire.
Earlier, the MD CEO of AEDC and host of the event, Mr. Ernest Mukwaya, said the company is dedicated to customer service by improving communications, metering, and customer enumeration to ensure that its customers are well served.
We have modernized both our billing system and we've also consolidated our vending systems. These are the two platforms which we use to sell electricity to customers. And all these are anchored on huge investment in ICT systems. As a result of this modernization, we have rolled out e-payment solutions. Customers are now able to pay for electricity, for example, using e-payment websites, and there are also third-party vendors who have dramatically increased the paying footprint. This is an important prerequisite for mass meter rollout, because without payment convenience, mass rollout can be curtailed, because then customers will struggle to buy units. But we've gone ahead to ensure that the payment platform is wide enough so that we can now support mass metering.
A communique was issued at the end of the deliberations which highlighted, among other things, the improvement of interface issues between the Transmission Company of Nigeria and the distribution companies, with a view to ensuring that power generated is delivered to the customers.
The meeting coincides with the commissioning of Kukwamba Transmission Station, which is aimed at improving power supply to Abuja metropolitan area as a relief to the overloaded Katambe substation. The completion of this transmission station is to ensure that the capacity of transmission infrastructure remains ahead of the nation's generation capacity to ensure that power generated is delivered to Nigerians. The meeting focused on identifying, discussing, and finding practical solutions to critical issues facing the Nigerian electricity supply industry.
Mr. Godson Azubrini is the General Manager, Information, Communication and Technology, ICT, at TCN. The sector provides ICT support for TCN operations in the headquarters as well as in the regions. Besides managing the websites of TCN, the sector also provides seamless network connection to all TCN formations in the country. Power Wheel spoke to him.
ICT sector in TCN is primarily bringing in the technology that will drive our business processes. These technologies come in terms of internet technology with a communication backbone. All these leading edge technologies bring in efficiency in our business processes and help us to deliver our corporate goals. The innovations we have brought in is that we did a business survey to identify the needs, the businesses we do, so that we know the appropriate technology that will drive them. So in all our locations, TSP and ISO, we have internet presence. We also have ICT tools, and we have proper application solutions that automate our processes, both in load dispatch, front dispatch, which is the market, and also in transmission services. We will use our assets, power assets, to wheel power. These power assets, what we have done is to keep track of them. We have a robust database of our power assets. On that robust database, we have applications like GIS that has coordinates of all our assets. We also have load dispatch softwares, which we have used recently to enhance dispatching load to the trading points and to bridge to bring in technology into load dispatch, and the system has actually improved. What we have done is to make sure that at every TCN location, in the headquarters, and in the field location, we have ICT staff who do some capacity building to let people move away from a manual system that was there ab initio. So in today's TCN, most locations, field locations, have basic ICT facilities which they have been able to now apply into delivering their routine functions. Basically, you can see in our system, most of our operations are automated. We have a policy of service automation along the line. Every year there's investment into ICT expansion, and we also carry along the intent and wish to automate our processes. That reduces paper or manually domiciled businesses. If you take a look now, you see most functions in TCN are automated. Our payroll, our human resources, our training. We have all these facilities all these functions automated, that people no longer do manual work. However, there is also the manual interface where people have to raise source documents that go into these systems. That cannot be stopped. The ICT is not to take over every person's job, but we automate the process and bring in efficiency and response to outages and so on.
You're watching Power Wheel. Every week on this program, we focus on efforts of operators in the power sector to light up Nigeria. The program continues shortly. The Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, says the completion of the 2x60 MVA 13233 kV transmission substation, Kukwaba, Abuja, built by the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, was a further evidence of the federal government's commitment to improving electricity wheeling capacity. The minister, who was represented at the commissioning of the substation by the Permanent Secretary Power, Mr. Louis Edozien, said the ministry was focused on a number of policy directives to address the challenges in the sector.
The Permanent Secretary Power commended the management of TCN for the initiative to revive and speed up the completion of the project, which was initially awarded to a foreign contractor in 2006 but abandoned. He also lauded the indigenous contractor News Engineering for completing the project with input also from TCN engineers, saying Minister Mr. Babatunde Fashola was committed to supporting and encouraging Nigerian enterprises in power sector.
This is a first-class substation built by a Nigerian company. And I think that is very important. The Honorable Minister has repeatedly stated his commitment to supporting, encouraging Nigerian enterprise. The acting president has recently captured that commitment in executive orders. So I think all our other local contractors should take a leaf from this, emulate news, finish their projects, and give credit to Nigerian enterprise.
TCN MD and CEO Mr. Usman Guru Mohammed stated that TCN was working round the clock to expand the transmission capacity nationwide in order to stay ahead of the generation and distribution curve in the electricity value chain, announcing ongoing plans to construct 5 additional substations in Abuja.
TCN will continue to stay ahead. We are going to be staying ahead of distribution. We are going to stay ahead of generation. We must provide capacity that is higher than all of them. And going forward, we are going for N-1 standard. So that anytime if a transformer fails or equipment fails, we don't feel it. Like what happened in Katampi, which was a very serious matter. We don't want that kind of thing to happen. For Abuja, already we have concluded plans to build 5 additional substations in Abuja. 5 additional substations apart from this Kupaba. We are putting 2 330 substations, one in Apo, another one in 331 substations, one in Apo, another one in Lugbe. We are putting another 132 33 kV substation, one in Kuje, another one in Gwarimpa, and another one in Logoboma. So those contracts, we have done the qualification. It's the tender we are giving to the contractors, and hopefully before September, October, we should be able to commission those projects.
This substation is supposed to relieve the 4 other substations in the Federal Capital Territory. The one from Apu, Katampe, Central Area, and one at Babalada. Commissioning it means we are relieving some of these other substations, relieving some of the lines, getting to the consumers closer, which means that the lines delivering the power are shorter, losses will be reduced, duration to trace faults will be reduced, voltage profiles will be better. All in all, will get more effective power delivery to the customers.
The Managing Director of Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, AEDC, Mr. Ernest Mopaya, expressed appreciation for the facility and noted that customers in Abuja will now have more than one source of power supply for improved service delivery.
We are going to supply that line from this substation, and by doing so, it means that we have created relief capacity at Katampe, which will see other areas such as Maitama, Pape, Life Camp, Guarimpa, and so on. They will be able to now take more load. It means just this substation will create improvements almost the entire FCT. It will impact on FCT. And the truth is where the MD for TCN has also lined up medium to long-term investments which will support our internal growth. So our own effort will be to ensure that we reconfigure lines to take advantages of these facilities which are being commissioned, so that the customers can have more than one source of supply. And by doing so, they will see improvement in the quality of the voltage we are supplying and the hours of supply.
I am privileged to receive Your Excellency here today and to witness your personally commissioned this project, which is a testimony of your active expansion of power supply to the economy. We are ready partners in your quest to succeed in this overriding national objective as a competent power services provider to the Ministry and TCN in particular.
The commissioning of the Kukwaba 2x60 MVA 13233 kV transmission substation, initially awarded to North China Power Engineering Company in 2006, before it was re-awarded to News Engineering Nigerian Limited in 2011, has added 120 megawatt transformer capacity to FCT.
The Enugu Electricity Distribution Company, EEDC, says it has awarded 10 billion naira contract to commence the first phase of customer metering in a bid to provide all customers with prepaid meters. A director and board member of the company, Dr. Stephen Dike, made this known in Enugu recently while addressing the leadership of the gender equality movement, which had embarked on a protest over exorbitant bills and epileptic power supply in the state at the headquarters of the EEDC. He said the company stopped metering because of the need to procure meters that will be difficult to bypass by unscrupulous customers, saying it would take the company 5 years to provide all its customers with meters. Similarly, the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, AEDC, also recently signed a contract with Mojek for the supply of 60,000 pieces of maximum demand three-phase and single-phase prepaid meters. Speaking at the signing ceremony, AEDC's MD CEO, Engineer Ernest Mokwaya, said metering will help discos to reduce the losses incurred through underbilling and theft of energy, increase the transparency of the bidding process, as well as the willingness of customers to pay their bills, as well as improve revenue and billing efficiency of the discos, a situation that will have a long-term effect on reducing tariffs. Now, remember we started our ongoing focus on the electricity production chain in Nigeria with a focus on the Girigu Thermal Generation Station. Now, it's time to talk hydro. Hydropower generation is where the pressure from the flow of water is used to propel turbines which generate electricity. This technology was first introduced to Nigeria with the commissioning of the Kainji Hydropower Station in New Busa, Niger State, by the then head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, in 1968, and was constructed by a consortium of Italian civil engineering contractors. The Kainji power plant, which is the first in the country, gets its water supply from the River Niger, which has an installed capacity of 760 megawatts of electricity. Two other hydropower plants, the Jeba Hydropower Plant in Kwara State, commissioned in 1984, get its water also from the River Niger, and the Shiroro Hydropower Plant, also in Niger State, built in 1990, sources its water from the River Kaduna. Now, with the privatization of the electricity firms in the power sector, the federal government granted concession of the Kainji Power Station to Mainstream Energy Solutions in 2013 for a period of 30 years. Power Wheel crew of Obi Michael Kasim and Billy Akau took a tour of the Kainji Power Plant to provide an insight into how hydropower generation is achieved.
Behind me is the Kainji Hydro Dam, presently owned and operated by Mainstream Energy Solutions Limited. It was built by a consortium of Italian civil engineering contractors. This was from 1964 through to 1968 and was commissioned by General Yakubu Gowon in 1969. The power plant was designed to generate 960 megawatts, but for some reasons, it actually generates 790 megawatts.
Kainji recently rehabilitated 2 units, 100 megawatt each one. We can see in this side is unit 1G6. We can produce 120 megawatts to the grid. And in that side, in the other side, we have unit 1G5, the same capacity. These 2 units are in good shape, in good condition. They are brand new units that we have recently rehabilitated for the grid.
During the tour of the facility, the Assistant General Manager, Hydrology for Kainji and Jeba Power Plants, Mr. Amadi Austin, gave a rundown of water management of the plant as well as its impacts on peak and off-peak periods.
We have 8 generators. They operate at the same voltage, all of them, but they have different capacities. Generators 1G5 and 6 have 120 megawatt as their capacity each. 120 megawatt, 120 megawatt. Generators 1G7, 8, 9, and 10. They have 80 megawatt as their capacity each. 8. Generators 11 and 12 has 100 megawatt each as their capacity. So if you add these 200 plus 80 by 4, 320, that's 520 plus 240, 760 megawatts. So it means that Kainji for now, with the 8 units, if you run the 8 units at full blast, you will have 760 megawatts. These are symbolic representations of generators, and it counts there are 8. All generators operate at the same voltage of 16 kV. It means that with this generator running, 16 kV is produced, and the 16 kV goes out through breaker and isolator to a transformer. The transformer is a step transformer. The transformer will step that 16 kV to 330 kV, and then it goes into the switchyard. Our goal is to generate electricity in bulk that we send out. So it will be transmitted over long lines to areas, small towns and villages where this is needed. So, and for us to be able to transmit to far places, we have to raise the voltage high so as to reduce losses on the line and to reduce the cost of the transmission. So that is why the 16 kV from generator is step up to 330 kV. And you can see here, yellow shows 16 kV, blue shows 330 kV. So all the generators, after transforming, the 330 kV goes to the switchyard, which is the collection point. From the switchyard, there are 4 lines that go out. 2 lines go to Jeba. This is line K1J, and this is line K2J. The 2 lines go to Jeba. That's Jeba switchyard.
Power generated from this hydro plant is transmitted to a switchyard belonging to the TCN, where it is then wheeled to customers through the discos.
That's what we have for you this week on Power Wheel. We hope you'll join us again next time. In the meantime, remember, every act of vandalism on electricity installations and equipment throws a clog in the wheel of progress in efforts to improve electricity supply to our homes and businesses. Be patriotic. I am Sheung Olagunju. Thanks for watching.